president, other elected officials to talk about creating jobs. And let me tell you, government doesn't create jobs, the private sector does. The best we can do, though, is create the conditions for success. A reasonable regulatory environment, predictable tax environment, and get out of the way. Let the private sector decide what to invest, where to invest, and how to invest, and create those jobs. It's not the government's job to try and say they're going to create jobs, and when they do that, they spend our money. So it's really not the government, it's us spending money there. The private sector does a much better job. The 2 terms I served in the Chandler City Council, they were non-consecutive terms. I tell you that because I'm not a career politician. I was born and raised here. I care about this community. I care about this state. But quite frankly, I'm not sure that career politicians are the answer. So the other thing I'll tell you, though, from those 2 terms, about 9 years in the Chandler City Council, I learned a lot. I learned you can't please everybody. But I also learned that when people elect you, they expect you to listen to them. And we were able to do that. Those people that they elected, they had their own ideas. They went on the tax dollars being spent, where the parks going to be built, how many police stations you need to have, fire stations. All that's important. You listen to them. You know why? Because they elected you for the first reason. The second reason, it's their tax money. So we've got to be responsive. The 2 terms I served in the Chandler City Council, from 96 to 2000, our budgets ranged from probably $300 million to just under $500 million. We balanced all those budgets. We balanced those budgets with cash reserves, and we lowered taxes. So the economy wasn't so bad then. My next 4-year term was 2004-2008. I got interrupted a couple different times. I had to go to Iraq twice during that term. I'm a reserve officer. But I was still part of the council. I still had input on the budgets. We balanced those budgets as well. 2004-2008, the last budget, 2007-2008, that I had any input in, it was over $1 billion, $1.2 billion. We balanced that budget as well. We had cash reserves. So I think the 2 things that are important for elected officials is to always listen to those who elected you. Be honest with them. You may not agree. That's what you learn right away. You can't agree with everybody. You can't make everybody happy. But you have to interact with them. And be fiscally responsible. Balance those budgets. It's not your money. Spend it wisely. Balance the budgets. And we were fortunate to have cash reserves in Chandler. So I'm proud we did that. I'm proud they continue to do that. In fact, with the downturn in the economy, a lot of cities and towns have been laying workers off, cutting back programs. We haven't had to do that in Chandler. So before I got in the council, and certainly after I've been off the council, that culture within the elected officials in this city, it's remained the same. Balance the budgets, have cash reserves, and don't spend when you don't need to. So let's kind of switch speeds a little bit and maybe go to some more macro stuff. Jobs in the economy. You know, before this past month, the jobs reports were okay. The economy's picking up steam. The recovery is here. Unemployment was trending downward. Well, last month, unemployment jumped up. Not a big jump, but the trend is always better when it goes down versus up when you're talking about unemployment. So we looked at these numbers, and unemployment numbers are pretty swirly. 8.1% national average. We looked at this district, we're a little bit better in this district, 7.5%. But there's 2 other things that don't really happen when they give you this unemployment report. Those that are underemployed, which means they're working more than one job, and those people just got so fed up they stopped looking. So when you add those 3 components together in this district, it's not 7.5% unemployment anymore, it's almost 14%. That's a big number. That's a big number. I would argue that the percentage being 7.5 or actually 14%, what that means is this: in this district, almost 48,000 people are unemployed, underemployed, or just stopped looking. That number's probably going to go up. I'm not here to blame President Obama or the Democrats just because I'm a Republican. I'm just here to give you the facts as they are. This is something that might be near and dear to some of you folks here. For the first time since World War II, our debt surpassed our GDP. What we owe as a nation is more than what we produced in a year. That happened during World War II because some of you probably remember we mobilized. A lot of expenditures were going out the door because of the war effort. It was necessary, okay? But we recovered after that. basically, when you spend more than you produce in a year, that's going to be a problem. Our deficit spending is almost 50% more of what we're taking in. No, that's not correct. Our deficit spending is 1.5 trillion, I think, is what we're spending in a deficit every year. That's not sustainable. Okay, so the Congress knew this, President of Congress knew this. Should have been a wake-up call. If we really care about being fiscally conservative, it's not something we don't have. Should have been a wake-up call. It wasn't. There was a binding bipartisan commission. Didn't do anything. There's some proposals that are out there talking about dealing with debt deficit spending. Not much traction. There is talk about maybe doing another increase in the debt ceiling, or perhaps another stimulus package. Right now, when the economy is spiraling downward, there's no job creation. Those are as irresponsible as they are dangerous. So I'm just giving you a backdrop. I mean, you folks have lived a pretty good life. You've seen a lot of hard times, a lot of different administrations come, a lot of different economies. So I'm not here to scare anybody. I'm just giving you where we're at right now. On a note, finishing up that note, I would say this. No matter how old or how young we are, how engaged or not engaged we are, we have to know this one thing. A president of Congress that doesn't deal with the debt or the deficit spending is more dangerous to our sovereignty as a country than any foreign military, any foreign nation. So I think we really need to pay attention to that. So, kind of in closing, I would just say this. We could say this economy, or this election is about this economy. It really isn't. It's about people. I mean, you folks no longer in the workforce, but you know people are. You know, your children, your grandchildren. So it's going to impact all of us here. Our families, our friends, our neighbors. The decision we have to make is, how do we move forward? How do we come together and move forward as Americans and deal with this crisis? Because it is a crisis. We're still at war. Okay, who knows where that's going to end? There's talk of a bunch of other wars. But our debt crisis has created a true crisis for us. So we need to come together and figure out how to deal with that and move forward. We need to ask ourselves, has government grown too big? Is it too costly? Is it too inefficient? It's kind of hard to argue it's not. We need to maybe think about what our founding fathers said when they formed this great republic. Government which governs least governs best. It means they're not in our pockets. You know, I like to ask where people are from. Obviously, we're in Arizona. People came here for a reason. I'm biased. My family's been here forever. But we're Westerners. We're very independent, very self-reliant people. And as a rule, we really haven't needed government to tell us which way the wind blows or in every facet of our life. There are challenges. But in the West, what you do when there's a challenge, you face it head on. You face it head on and deal with it. You've got to decide to really move forward with this thing. Again, the time I served in the Chandler City Council, I'm proud of that time. It really showed me some very valuable lessons. People elect you to serve them. People want you to listen to them. But you also have to be very good stewards of their money. So today, I'm also proud of the fact that they continue to be very prosperous in the city. They paid attention to that. I'm as proud of that as I am the fact that I'm from Arizona. My family, the roots go back about 150 years. That's in this district, actually. I'm very proud of that. I feel grateful that my wife and I were able to raise our son and daughter in Arizona. I was born and raised here. We were able to do the same with them. I feel blessed that after 6 different combat tours recently in Iraq and Afghanistan, both my son and I made it back home safely. So I know how precious our freedom and our liberty is. I know it's worth fighting for. So I've got the ability to lead, I've got the experience, and I believe I'm ready now to serve this district in Congress. I appreciate your attention. I thank you for your time and I'd like to answer any questions.